हेलो एवरीबॉडी। अगर आप फाइनेंशियल फ्रीडम चाहते हैं, अगर आप वेल्थ क्रिएट करना चाहते हैं, यू हैव कम टू द राइट प्लेस। आप सही जगह पे आए हैं। वेलकम टू फाइनेंशियल फ्रीडम विद प्लैनेट वेल्थ यूट्यूब एंड पॉडकास्ट चैनल। आज के इस वीडियो और ऑडियो पॉडकास्ट में हम बात करने वाले हैं जो मेरी एमएफ रिसर्च एनालिटिक्स रिपोर्ट की जो सीरीज है उसमें आगे हम बढ़ते हुए वी आर गोइंग टू टॉक अबाउट मिरे एसेट लार्ज कैप फंड इन टुडेस वीडियो. So this video would help you to decide whether the Mirae Asset Large Cap Fund is the right fund for your portfolio or not. ये आप आज के वीडियो में हम डिस्कस करने वाले हैं. आपके लिए ये मेरे एसेट लार्ज कैप फंड क्या लेके आ रहे हैं उसके बारे में हम आज बात करने वाले हैं. दोस्तों, आई एम ब्रिजेश परिक. आई एम फादर ऑफ टू लवली किड्स, हस्बैंड टू अ लविंग वुमन. I am an entrepreneur now turned into a well coach, and I am on a mission to help 1 lakh families like yours to live a financially worry-free life and achieve financial freedom during your life. तो मेरे इसी मिशन के तहत ये जो पॉडकास्ट और यूट्यूब चैनल चला रहा हूँ, एक बार फिर से उसमें आपका स्वागत है. चलिए देखते हैं कि मेरे एसेट लार्ज कैप फंड आपके लिए क्या स्टोर करके आ रहा है. तो बेसिकली अगर हम उसकी इन्वेस्टमेंट स्ट्रेटेजी के बारे में बात करें तो as the name suggests, it's a large cap scheme, popular scheme in the large cap category, and it has a track record of delivering superior performance over longer time periods. We are going to dissect the performance during this video. It was launched in 2008 and it has rewarded investors well despite undergoing multiple changes in its investment mandate. Originally, it was launched as a multi-cap funds category, and in the 2019, when SEBI mandated multi-cap category to be either be in the multi-cap or be other category, the fund changed its investment mandate and became a large cap fund. So it was from an opportunity style to a multi-cap funds category. This scheme has finally taken the next leap to the large cap funds category. Right. So the recent categorization into large cap funds category didn't have any major impact on its investment style because it was predominantly large cap heavy fund. So Mirae Asset Large Cap Fund continues with its strategy of following a combination of top down and bottom up approach of stock picking, and it endeavors to invest in companies which have a chance of benefiting from economic growth and structural changes happening in the country. The fund has proven its ability to timely identify sector and stock-specific opportunities, aiming to outperform the benchmark, and the fund manager follows a rigorous investment process that leads to alpha generation. So naturally, when we are talking about an active style of fund management, we need to look at the alpha generation. The fund managers look at business on various quantitative and qualitative parameters and give high importance to quality and scalable business run by credible managements. So the fund usually holds a large cap bias with some allocation towards mid cap and invest in a well diversified portfolio of about 50 to 65 stocks. The funds holds the tendency to vary its investment strategies depending on the external factors. However, the current large cap mandate may limit its flexibility. The fund resists from following any market momentum and stays fully invested in most of the times. Let's look at the trailing returns. You can see the trailing returns. It has consistently beaten its benchmark across 7-year period, 5-year period, 3-year period, 1-year period, right? Even it is struggling on a shorter duration time. You can see that 6 months, 3 months, and 1 month it could not beat its benchmark and the category. Otherwise, on a longer time horizon, it has always beaten its benchmark and almost always beaten its category averages. If we compare it with other peer comparison, so Mirae Asset Large Cap can be comparable to Axis Blue Chip, UTI Master Share Fund, UTI Nifty Index Fund, and Kotak Blue Chip Fund. You can see over a horizon period, 5-year, 3-year, and 1-year thing, it is almost amongst the top 3 performing schemes if you compare it with the peers. So that means it's consistently amongst the top performer fund. Now let's look at the risk ratios. If we look at the standard deviation, which is the how it is deviating across ups and downs in various cycles. So you can see that the category average has 17.33 standard deviation, whereas the fund is having 20.84 standard deviation, which means the fund is highly volatile. Right. So whenever if you think about investing into this fund, you need to understand its high volatile nature as compared to the category. If you look at the beta, in terms of beta as well, the category average is 0.78, whereas the funds average is 0.97. So the ratios are taken on daily returns for last 3 years, and it was last updated on 31st March 2021. So again, on the beta front, also it's a highly volatile, which means it will be volatile as compared to its benchmark as well, right? So let's look at the Sharpe ratio. It is giving better risk adjusted return as compared to category. So means if it is taking higher risk, it is also giving us the higher returns, right? So the category average is 0.41%, whereas the Sharpe ratio of this fund is 0.54. Here the higher is the better, right? In this two, lower is the better, but in this higher is the better. Let's look at the trainers ratio, which is also one of the criteria of better risk adjusted return. If you look at the trainers ratio, the category average is 1.09 and the funds average is 0.12, means it is giving better risk adjusted return amongst its category. Now let's look at the Jensen's alpha, which is also known as alpha generation. So alpha generation is basically better risk adjusted return, but the main purpose of creating an alpha is to beat the benchmark. So how better the fund is beating the benchmark, that's the important part. So if you look at the category average is delivering minus 0.61 alpha, whereas the fund is able to generate 0.19%. So you can see this alpha reflects this better risk adjusted return criteria, which is deliverable by Sharpe and trainer, which is reflecting in the Sharpe and trainers ratio. But at the same time, we can say that since it is delivering a better return, it is also a relatively highly volatile scheme. Now let's look at and try and understand the volatility part. So best and worst performance. So if we take the if we evaluate on the weekly basis, you can see that on a weekly basis it has delivered best performance as 10.06% during the 1st April 2020 to 9 April 2020 week. But at the same time, it has delivered a minus 18.08 worst performance during the period of 16 March 2020 to 23rd March 2020. On a monthly, if we evaluate on a monthly basis, it has delivered 21.80, which was the best performance during the 23rd March 2020 to the 20 April 2020 period. Whereas on the monthly basis, it had delivered worst performance of minus 36.54 during the 20 Feb 2020 to 23rd March 2020. On a quarterly basis, if you evaluate the base performance, it has delivered 34.77 during the period of 23 March 2020 and 22 June 2020. Whereas a worst performance basis, it has delivered worst performance of minus 36.47 during the 23 December 2019 to 23 March 2020. On a yearly basis, if we evaluate the base performance, it has delivered 93.80 return during 23 March 2020 to 23 March 2021. Whereas the worst performance is minus 30.97 during the 22 March 2019 to the 23 March 2020. Right? So why I shared this best and worst performance, you can see that the volatility of weekly, monthly, and quarterly and yearly basis. So you need to understand how the fund is going to behave in a base scenario and in a worst scenario. Right? Now let's understand the portfolio, why this is delivering the better return. So you can see that the equity holding is 98.85%, fund holding is 0%, foreign equity holding is 0%, right? Number of stocks is 55, whereas category average is 46.81. Large cap investments within the in 98.85% total holding is 72.08, mid cap is 12.38, and small cap investment is 2.6%, and others are 11.77. Right. So the number of stocks, if we look at the portfolio summary, the number of stocks the scheme is having 55, whereas the category average is 44.59. So we can say that it is relatively better diversified as compared to the category. Top 5 stocks weightage is 41.27, whereas the category is 37.44. Top 10 stock weightage is 58.09, whereas the category is 56.07. and top 3 sector weightage is 52.22, whereas the category average is around 50.46. Average market capitalization, scheme's market capitalization is 2,32,004 crores, whereas the 23,02,004, whereas the category is 10 times more almost. Holding in large cap stocks 72.08%, whereas category is 78.15%. Right. So it has a less small large cap scheme as compared to the category average. Holding in mid cap is 12.38, whereas the category is 6.85, and holding in small cap is 2.61, whereas the category is 1.77. So now you can see that the mid cap and small cap holdings is relatively higher than the category average. That is why the fund is highly volatile. Top 10 stock holding in the portfolio, if we talk about, you can see it has Infosys 10.31%, it has HDFC Bank 9.95%, it has Reliance Industries 8.45%, ICICI Bank 8.04%, Tata Consultancy Services 4.52%, Axis Bank 4.15%, HUL 3.36%, Bharti Airtel 3.32%, SBI 3.04%, and Dr. Reddy's Laboratory 2.9%. And here you can see what is the 1 month change in the holding, what is the 1 year change in the holding. Here you can get the 1 year highest holding and 1 year lowest holding across the various time period, right? So this will give you an idea what kind of holdings the scheme is having, and which can give you a comfort about the returns which you can expect from the scheme. Now let's look at the suitability. Who should invest into this kind of scheme? So this is a fund that invests in big companies. So compared to those that invest in smaller companies, such funds tends to fall less when stock prices fall. Therefore, they are more suited to conservative equity investors, right? So the scheme holds well-diversified portfolios spread across stocks and sector that helps it efficiently deal with market fluctuations. This bodes well with the large cap allocation that further increases the stability of the portfolio. The scheme has a history of performing consistently well across market cycles through timely sector bets. Cyclical bets taken by the fund manager has helped increase the return generated by the fund during the economic recoveries, whereas the allocation to defensive help tackle the volatility and limit downsides. Its investment approach is centered around participating in high quality businesses up to a reasonable price and holding the same over an extended period of time. This makes the scheme suitable for long-term investor with moderate risk appetite. So you should go for this fund when you wanted a relatively better return giving large cap fund, because it, as we discussed about the portfolio breakup, you can see that it has a relatively higher small cap and large mid cap contributions. So if you are looking for a better risk adjusted return in a large cap category, which can also provide you the downside protection, you can think about this scheme from the perspective of 5 to 7%. But let me emphasize here, scheme is an instrument to invest, but the requirement of from an investor's perspective is to follow an asset allocation and rebalancing strategy, which means you need to have asset allocation based on your risk profile, and you follow that asset allocation and do the rebalancing periodically, which will be able to manage your downside risk and able to generate higher returns on your portfolio. So I hope this analysis about the Mirae Asset Large Cap Fund would help you, and you will be able to decide whether you should go for this fund, whether you should park your money into this fund or not. uh, Thank you for watching this video. मिलते हैं इसी तरीके की अगले वीडियो में. May God shower abundant wealth to you. May you achieve financial freedom in your life. And if you like this video, share it with friends and relatives जहाँ पे आपको लगता है कि इस तरीके की वीडियो उनको हेल्प करेगी. मेरे YouTube चैनल को लाइक कीजिए, मेरे पॉडकास्ट को सब्सक्राइब कीजिए, और साथ ही आप कुछ भी क्वेश्चन हो स्कीम के बारे में तो इसके नीचे कमेंट में पूछिए. I'll be more than happy to answer your question, and see you in the next video. Thank you. So if you wish to focus and keep and growing your money, there are various educational channels which I forget to tell you. So let me take one more moment to share with you. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can read my blogs on planetworld.in. You can view various educational videos on the same blog. You can also have the bite-size personal finance literacy video on moneycraft.com. You can also like my Facebook page Planet Wealth, or join me on a financial well-being group on Facebook. Or the best way to keep connected is to store my WhatsApp number, which is 9328190022 in your mobile as Planet Wealth, and then add me your name करके WhatsApp message भेज दीजिए, so that I can add you into my financial literacy broadcast group, which will using which I normally communicate this kind of new content which I share with my interested persons. So store my number. Don't forget to store, and see you in the next video. Thank you.